Our next bill is item 17. This is SB-802, please.
Yes, thank you. SB-802. I think all of us are aware that watch the news that California's transportation sector is on the verge of transformation. We have the development of a very brilliant technology, autonomous technology that can power our vehicles. And I hold this up because I'm the owner of an iPhone. I know some of you may have Androids, you may have other types of, but I hold it up as an indicator. In January of 2007 is when Apple introduced the iPhone. It is 2017 today. Now, while everyone doesn't have an iPhone, I think that none of us, I think there's hardly any of us who can think of anyone that we know that does not have one of these. Who could have predicted in that short period of 10 years that you would have that type of transformation in, or tipping point type of technology? If we see that autonomous technology within vehicles achieved a rate of adoption comparable to what we've seen in the last 10 years in the adoption of cell phones, our transportation system could be entirely reinvented in just a decade. So what the purpose of 802, as amended, and if you will notice now the bill before you is significantly amended, it now proposes that we create a task force with OPR at the lead to ensure that the state engages in a thoughtful process for autonomous vehicle adoption that considers strategies to maximize the benefits that autonomous vehicles could bring. Because to have a technology with this power of transformation without some type of thoughtful engagement, I think it's just probably not the smartest thing. Now, whether that task force makes recommendations to the legislature or not remains to be seen, but certainly it would enable us to have our best minds, because the task force not only would include ARB, DMV, and others, it would also include industry stakeholders as I've constructed it right now. So I'd like to ask now Molly D'Agostino, who is the policy manager on autonomous vehicles for the UC Davis Institute of Transportation Studies, and Will Barrett from the American Lung Association to speak in support.
Thank you. Speakers in favor, please. Go right ahead.
All right, thank you so much for having me. Thanks to the chair and the members of the committee. My name is Molly D'Agostino, and I'm with the UC Davis Institute of Transportation Studies, working on a policy initiative called the 3 Revolutions, looking at sharing, automation, and electrification. We know that Senator Skinner is correct. The AVs, autonomous vehicles, pose to make some serious changes in the way people travel in our communities. There's a lot of benefits that we expect. It could mean safer travel, improved travel time and travel costs. It could even result in environmental and community benefits. But we also know these benefits are not guaranteed. There's a range of benefits expected. Some of the emissions ranges that have been estimated by my research team, and that's a collaborative research team that includes both nonprofit stakeholders and private sector stakeholders. We've identified ranging from a 90% reduction in emissions to a doubling of emissions. This is the range that autonomous vehicles could result in. So right now, there isn't a lot of well-known, of course, no one has a crystal ball. So what we need to do is continue to analyze, continue to research, continue to work together to determine what is the best path forward. How can we ensure that these benefits occur and also mitigate some of the potential negative impacts that could occur, such as emissions, and also increased driving times for folks that don't have access to an autonomous vehicle. While we know that autonomous vehicles may end up making this road safer overall, there may be some winners and some losers. So we need to make sure we're taking a step back and really looking at how we think we should move forward with autonomous vehicle policy. So we are strong support of this bill.
Thank you.
I'm Will Barrett with the American Lung Association in California. The Lung Association, Will Barrett with the American Lung Association in California. The Lung Association has a long history of commitment to the advancement of zero-emission technologies and reducing vehicle miles traveled as a pathway to improving public health. Last year, the Lung Association released a report showing that the passenger vehicle fleet in California represents about $15 billion in annual climate and public health impacts. These asthma attacks, hospitalizations, and premature deaths will be greatly reduced through the conversion of the fleet to zero-emission technologies, as well as the reduction in vehicle miles traveled. We appreciate the Senator's effort to bring the role of zero-emission technologies into the discussion of autonomous vehicles as a way to advance clean air, climate, and healthy communities together, and we feel that this should be a strong focus of the advisory committee going forward. So we look forward to working through the ways that we can drive the greatest clean air and climate benefits as this new technology matures, and some of the questions that Molly referenced are answered going forward. Thank you very much, and we support the bill.
Other supporters, please come forward of this bill, SB-802. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. Shanti Ezran from Environment California in support.
Thank you. Okay, opponents or people that have concerns, please come forward. You want to, okay. Yes, please.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Chair and members. My name is Andrea DeVoe. I am here today on behalf of TechNet. With the utmost respect to the author, Senator Skinner, we must oppose SB-802 as it appeared in print this morning. And while we certainly need more time to review, we do have initial concerns about the amendments to create a task force. Initial thinking is that it may repeat the work already conducted by SB 1298, the steering committee, but we will need to do our homework there. We look forward to seeing the amendments in print, or that are being proposed in amendments today, so that we can evaluate more carefully. TechNet is concerned that while well-intentioned, presupposed requirements, assertions, or even a request for a task force is premature, and it's premature and can have detrimental impacts on advancements and innovation. We certainly know this is not the author's intent. We commit to working with the author and thank she and her staff for working with us.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Amy Maga on behalf of the California Chamber of Commerce. We too are opposed to the bill in print as of this morning and do share the same concerns with the proposed amendments moving forward. Thank you.
Margaret Gladstein on behalf of the global automakers. We appreciate the direction that the author has moved. We do look forward to working with her, but we do have concerns about the task force and look forward to continuing the conversation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Cornelius Burke with the Bay Area Council. At this moment, we're opposed. We need to review the new language with our member companies, and we look forward to working with the senator.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, members, Chris McKaylee on behalf of the Computing Technology Industry Association. We share the same concerns that TechNet has outlined. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any questions from committee members? Senator Roth, Richard Roth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make sure I'm clear. So, Senator, all this is now is a study.
Task force to do it.
Task force.
Task force to do a study that's going to provide recommendations to the legislature, whatever those are.
Thank you for the question, Senator Roth. The bill, as I first introduced it, which came out of, in my interim since I was in the Assembly till now, I spent 2 years at UC Davis, at the variety of the research centers that have been looking at the whole transformation California is underway in terms of transportation, energy, you name it. And of course, looking at things like ZEVs and autonomous vehicles and all kinds of things. And so in reflecting on, as my analogy was made, that we could have the type of, that the potential power of the autonomous vehicle technology, which I welcome, could have the type of transforming influence that, say, cell phones do, is that analogy I made. So I started out with already presupposing a solution, which was to have our autonomous vehicles be ZEVs, the zero emission, or at least the certain level of zero emission. And then partly in interacting with the committee staff, but in also just reflecting, it was sort of like, well, wait a minute, before I just predetermine a solution, wouldn't it be wiser, because we don't really know, we're not yet clear exactly how autonomous vehicles will be fully used. Will they really replace, you know, do they end up replacing much transit? I mean, who knows yet, right? So then it seemed much wiser to engage the thought leaders that we have in the state, whether it's our Office of Planning and Research, our Strategic Growth Council, our Housing and Community Development, our DMV, the Transportation Agency, the stakeholders themselves, meaning the developers of the technology and auto manufacturers, to create a task force to be able to start being very thoughtful about how the AVs may transform our transportation usages and patterns, and thus how we might respond. Meanwhile, the chair wants to hold an oversight hearing in the fall on this subject, and I'm sure that that hearing it alone will help to inform the task force. So at this moment, I'm not even dictating to the task force exactly what its parameters should be, and look forward to working with the chair so that that hearing might inform then the types of things that the task force looks at.
I assume that the opponents have some concerns about the composition of the task force, and that's what you're discussing with them?
And so far, and I did include representatives of industry and such on the task force due to some of that recommendation, I think, and I don't want to be presupposing, but I think that they're concerned that the task force view or charge would be only to look at the environmental or, say, emission consequences of autonomous vehicles versus a much broader, obviously autonomous vehicles, there's many benefits as well as possible problems, and rather than creating a task force that looks from a problematic point of view, maybe we should be looking at having one that is looking in a more holistic, and that's certainly my objective, and I'm not sure if my language yet has them satisfied that that is my objective.
I appreciate you working with them. I'll be prepared to support the bill today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Other questions, senators? Senator Skinner, would you like to close on your bill? Oh, Senator Allen. He always comes in at the.
I know. I'm sorry. I always want to hear, what Senator Roth has to say.
Yeah.
No, I think you're raising a really interesting series of issues here. I know you've heard from folks who've raised concerns, but I certainly think this merits moving forward to continue the discussion. And, there's a lot of issues at play, but I'm certainly going to vote for it today.
Thank you, Senator. And Senator Bell, in closing, I would say that I would look forward to working with the committee on the hearing, and that while I began this process with presupposing a solution, I now have a bill that is much more trying to look at a global view or a holistic view of a task force that would look at autonomous vehicles and not just a problematic.
Thank you.
And I ask for your vote.
I appreciate your hard work on this, Senator, and I support the motion Senator Roth made. We'll call the question on the bill.
This is Senate Bill 802 by Senator Skinner. The motion is do pass as amended and re-refer to the Environmental Quality Committee. Senator Bell?
Aye.
Bell, aye. Cannella?
No.
Cannella, no. Allen?
Aye.
Allen, aye. Atkins? Aye. Atkins, aye. Bates? Gaines? McGuire? Mendoza? Morrell? Morrell, no. Roth? Aye. Roth, aye. Skinner?
Aye.
Skinner, aye. Wachowski? Weiner?
Aye.
Weiner, aye. 6-2.
6 votes favor, and we'll hold a roll open, perhaps members. Senator.
Thank you very much.
Senator Roth, would you like to present your bill at this time? Senator Roth has